In my personal opinion, Grannies Gone Wild is when Season 8 starts to show some actual value. There are still a fair few issues with it, but I do think that the good genuinely does outweigh the bad this time around. A lot of the humor this time around actually worked pretty well for me. There's a lot of good dialogue between Granny Smith and her sisters, and beyond that, I really like how crafty they're portrayed as being in this episode. A common misconception is that elderly people tend to be a lot slower and a lot harder to really work with, which can be true when you're tasked with taking care of them, but this episode actually shows a more mischievous side. Like how the Golden Horseshoe Gals concede that Rainbow Dash is impatient and she just wants to dump them, and they entertain this idea of basically letting Rainbow Dash do whatever she wants while they sleep away, even though they're fully intent on doing something else with their time there. It's really funny, and I like how it communicates that even though they're old, they don't act like they were born just yesterday. It's a quality I feel was sorely lacking in episodes like Season 6 is Where the Apple Lies. I mean, yes, I could complain about the fact that there are several episodes prior to show the grannies just being more hapless than they are in this episode, or even how Apple Rose, a pony that's hard of hearing, can actually hear Rainbow Dash just fine when on the dance floor, but this is good characterization that actively subverts that stereotype. I'm not going to complain about it here. And besides, these are the type of stories I want to see, where lesser seen characters are further developed, rather than trying to reuse the characters that were already thoroughly exhausted for potential and are largely stagnant in the case of the main six. Unfortunately, I still have some key problems with this episode. At its core, this episode still largely focuses on Rainbow Dash, as she strives to manage the time the Golden Horseshoe Gals spend in Las Pegasus. This is because, under Applejack's direction, she's to keep a close eye on Granny Smith and her sisters. I always thought that Rainbow Dash's mission here was just diametrically opposed to her wish to ride the roller coaster, and kinda just defeats the purpose of actually going, since there's just no way that roller coaster would not seem to be too excited. But I can't accept this as a necessary evil for the story to function. What I can't accept, however, is Rainbow Dash being so obtuse about what she actually wants to do. Rainbow Dash was told to watch the Golden Horseshoe Gals. She wasn't told not to tell them what she was there for. A lot of the conflict would have just been resolved if Rainbow Dash just told the truth from the very beginning. And in her case specifically, it's really dumb because, if anything, Rainbow Dash is more honest than Applejack at times. Like, I get that would solve the episode's problem way too quickly, but there really isn't a good reason why Rainbow Dash wouldn't just do that. This isn't like Sweet and Elite, where there's a very clear reason why Rarity wouldn't tell Twilight that she was neglecting her dress because she wanted to socialize in Canterlot. So the story as a result just rings really hollow in this episode. I appreciate that the Golden Horseshoe Gals actually end up getting the truth out of Rainbow Dash later in the episode, but it's also a wonder why they weren't open with her either. One scene they're trying to trick Rainbow Dash, making her think that they went to sleep, even though they knew full on well they weren't about to do that. And in a future scene, Granny Smith up and says to Rainbow Dash that she thought that she was the fun one. If you thought that, why were you trying to trick her earlier? It's not the worst plot hole, but it is pretty notable all the same to me. Likewise, I cannot be led to believe that Rainbow Dash, a Wonderbolt, would not be allowed to cut in line when it comes to riding the roller coaster on the last day it was operating. Considering it was established earlier in the episode that every Wonderbolt has already ridden the roller coaster, and by Season 8, Rainbow Dash is kind of a big freaking deal, being an element bearer and everything. That's just a stretch I cannot quite commit to. There's also just some dialogue that makes me really roll my eyes, like the pony that was basically talking to Rainbow Dash about how it's a good thing they don't have any outside responsibilities, which is first of all an assumption you don't really know for sure yet, and second of all is way too on the nose for it to feel natural. But you know, not every scene involving Rainbow Dash is a dud. I did think it was really funny seeing the visage of Applejack float by without uttering a single word when the announcer talked about the Golden Horseshoe Gals getting excited. That actually did get a laugh out of me. And the part before the grannies actually went underwater had such "oh come on" energy, I could not help myself. That is actually peak. And speaking of that scene, there's actually a stallion that really resembles Trixie, which makes me wonder about her relationship with her father. I heard some theories about Trixie being an illegal child because her father's not really in her life, which in a sense is pretty dark, but this episode had a cat attempt to jump out of a hot air balloon because it didn't want to listen to a story about being caught in a tree. So there's obviously no shortage of dark themes in this episode, which I greatly appreciate. As a whole, I thought this episode was actually pretty solid. I don't know if I'd quite call it a good episode because the story is kind of on the flimsy side, but I do like the moral, the characters were generally pretty good, and the humor throughout the entire thing was great. So far, this is the highlight of Season 8. But there's still no shortage of show left to go, so join me for next time when we review Surf and or Turf. Until then, what did you think of Grannies Gone Wild? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think Jackpot really is Shrusi's long-lost father? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that, thank you for watching.